guests, Lake Tahoe is one of the most beautiful places in the world. When I first moved up to Reno, I always went west. Lake Tahoe, Desolation Wilderness, the Sierra Nevada mountains, just incredibly beautiful country. I remember when I used to drive east on Highway 80 through Nevada, and I'd look out my window at those brown mountains, and I'd think, wow, Nevada is kind of a wasteland. No water, no trees, no shade. Yuck. I took up chukar hunting. And for those of you who don't know what a chukar is, it's a little chicken-sized game bird that runs around the hills of Nevada. And it's an evil little bird. It actually laughs at you as you're trying to hunt it. It mocks you. But the great thing that came out of chukar hunting was it got me off of the highway and back into the hills of Nevada, where I could see what a beautiful, rugged, and diverse state Nevada truly is. It wouldn't be unusual to be out hiking a canyon and all of a sudden you come across this little spring bubbling outside of the mountain, and all of a sudden there's water and wetlands and wildlife, and it's a little oasis, a little Garden of Eden in the middle of Nevada, if you will. And I fell in love with Nevada. I just couldn't get enough. I love getting in my four-wheeler and just driving across Nevada and hit the dirt and see what you can see. It's a beautiful state. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite trips, and that's out to the Great Basin National Park. Great Basin National Park is in eastern Nevada off Highway 50, the loneliest highway in America. And as soon as you turn up Highway 488 going into the park, you see that it's a little different. It's not typical Nevada. There's actually water, or wetlands, and wildlife. It's actually very pretty. But this canyon is also home to 3 amazing attractions. Now, the first one that you come to is the Lehman Caves. And the Lehman Caves are 70-million-year-old marble miracles located in Nevada. And I say miracles because it's miraculous to see what time and water can do to a limestone mountain. Here you have these underground polished palaces that are just spectacular with their stalactites, stalagmites, and spirals. It's an incredible sight to see. This is also home to the only visitor center in the park. So when you get there, there's a restaurant, there's an information center, a forestry service office. You can easily spend the whole day at Lehman Caves. But we can't because there's not time. We need to get down the highway, get back in the truck, and drive up the highway. Next place we're going to come to is a couple little campgrounds, and they're just beautiful little campgrounds. There's lots of shade trees and a bubbling brook running through them, very pretty. This is also the trailhead for the bristlecone pine trees. Bristlecone pines are some of the oldest living things on the planet. Old Prometheus recently died. They cut him open, counted his rings. He was 4,900 years old. Can you imagine? He was around to see the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire. Jesus walked the pine. I mean, these guys have been around for a long time. And the hike, really a pretty easy little hike, 1.5 miles, 2 miles up a beautiful canyon. And when you first see the bristlecones on the side of the hill, you think that they're ancient sentinels guarding a sacred valley. They just have that appearance to them. And then when you get up next to them, you see how worn, weathered, and warped they are. You really get a feeling for how long they've been on the planet and how much time they've been there. It's a very spiritual experience. You're going to have the urge to sit in the shade of one of these ancient arahants and spend the rest of the day meditating. But you can't because we got more to do. We need to get back in the truck and drive further up the highway. This time, we're going to drive to the end of the highway, but it's not really the end. It's the beginning, because it's the trailhead for Wheeler Peak. Wheeler Peak is the second tallest peak in Nevada. At 13,065 feet, she's a granite giant that just dominates the skyline of the Snake Mountain Range. And when you're standing at the trailhead looking up at her, she's really impressive, because 3 of her sides are just sheer cliffs, completely inaccessible. Then out of the north, there's a little ridge line that runs up to her tabletop peak, and as you stand at the bottom looking up, it looks like a stairway going into the sky. It's really beautiful. Now, if you ever hiked Mount Rose, you can hike Wheeler. Mount Rose is 6 miles, 2,500 feet elevation gain. Wheeler is 5 miles, 2,500 feet elevation gain. You start at a higher elevation and end at a higher elevation, but you can do it. When you take off on the hike, you're still in the tree line, so it's a beautiful hike. You're hiking through pine trees, green meadows, alpine lakes. If you didn't know any better, you'd swear you were in a little miniature of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It's just beautiful. And then when you get to the top, man, the views are just spectacular. Like I say, it's kind of a tabletop peak, so you get up there and there's a lot of room to walk around. You walk to the eastern side and you look out back down on the Great Basin National Park. It's all lush and green with alpine lakes. And then walk to the south and you look out and there's just a myriad of mountain ranges stacked up out there. It's so vast that you swear there's places that no human being has ever touched. And you walk over to the west side, and you look out over Spring Valley, and oh, it's amazing. You see where our state got its name, the Great Basin. I mean, this basin is just so vast and spread out. If you close your eyes, you can almost smell the salt water from ancient Lake Lahontan. It's really a great experience. When I first moved to Nevada, I was in love with Lake Tahoe, and rightly so. What a beautiful place. But thanks to an evil little chicken-sized bird, I found out what a beautiful, rugged, and diverse state Nevada really is. And there's no better example than that in Great Basin National Park. Here in one canyon, you've got 3 great attractions. You've got the Lehman Caves, marble miracles. You've got the bristlecone pine, some of the oldest living things on the planet. You've got Wheeler Peak, the stairway into the sky. One trip to Great Basin National Park, and you'll never